See, for you to believe that Jesus Christ, the person that they say existed, that was God
Mm,
incarnate,
mm, mm,
for you to believe that BS,
mm.
you have to believe everything else that comes from
That
that
comes with it.
place.
Right, right, right,
And so now, if they got you believing something that you know to be a lie,
Mhm.
and you're not skeptical with everything that they got this fool Neil deGrasse or Neil deAsse Tyson, this fool going around pushing this globe Earth that we landed on the moon and we're going to Mars and to Venus and all of this stuff. And guess what? The Big Bang does not real no more. There's something beyond the Big Bang.
Mm,
I mean, come on. A lot of
mm.
people don't care because they just got to get the rent and they got to feed their family and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
so if you believe that they what they're telling you, and if you look at the Big Bang, it's essentially them pimping Genesis and
Mm.
coding it into their own language system, which they call quantum science or quantum physics.
Physics, yeah.
So I call upon people's righteous reason and logic and ask them, do they believe that a Caucasoid man, even a black man they call him, walked the earth who was God's only, only begotten son?
Mm.
I want you to ask me, why is it that they found 145 similarities between Heru and Christ?
Mm. Mhm.
So now the education system, what we call the education system, the books you read are actually edited in the Vatican before they are distributed in Western civilization.
Mm.
So now, if you are believing that they're telling you that there was a person named Jesus Christ who, at 33 years of age, came out to lecture and after a while was killed and came back from the dead. And when he was crucified on the cross, all of the graves of the dead opened up and walked the earth.
Mhm.
If you believe that garbage, why is it you're so quick to believe that we're on a spinning ball going at 1,038 miles an hour, spinning around a sun at 66,000 miles an hour? Do you know what that means?
First of all, I want to preface this by saying that any in-depth analysis of the historical record that exposes any belief system for being either fraudulent or highly manipulated is not an attack on the individuals who have fallen for the belief. And this is where a lot of people have, this is where they get their, they take offense or they hit that wall of cognitive dissonance. Every text, every author of the first century churches is ex post facto. We have absolutely no references from the historical record that any of these texts were real or existed. They only became real after the Council of Nicaea. They only took on substance after the church ratified these as historical documents. And in 1910, 1911, 1912, this man published a book. His name is Charles Waite. The book is called The First 200 Years of the Christian Religion. In this book, this man exposes all the historical documents showing from the ancient world that Christianity was forged. It was deliberately created at the Council of Nicaea, and it was a carnalized Christ that usurped the original Christian doctrine, because the original Christian doctrine did not require a blood sacrifice. It was spiritual. It was the Christianity of the gnosis. And the church then went to war against the Gnostics. One of the first ones they killed was Mani the Persian, and many others, because they needed to cover their tracks, because a lot of the eschatological material that was incorporated into the New Testament came straight out of the Zendavesta and different orders that had branched out from Iran. Paul is an abbreviated form of actually Apollonius. Marcion had these texts. These were original Christian documents, but somebody had taken that original gospel, which had no miracles. It only had profound spiritual teachings and parables. And the Gospel of Marcion starts with a strange man entering Samaria at 30 years old. And he was only there for 3 years. And he disappeared. He was not crucified. There was no sun darkening. There was no virgin birth, not a single miracle, water into wine. The original Christian story had none of these, but it was very spiritual material, and it was full of parables. And the only thing that there's crossover with between the actual synoptic gospels that were written in Rome and this gospel was that it was written by Samaritans who had a problem with the Jews. These are the very people who are in possession of over 1,000 ancient texts that showed the lie of the carnalized Christ, that the crucified God, the cult of the crucified God, is ancient, saying that it was born on December 25th. And all these elements came from the ancient pagan idolatry. These things the students of the Gnosis knew well. And the church had to spend the first 600 years of its existence eliminating everybody who believed these things, all these communities, and getting rid of all the documents. For those who have studied Roman church council history, you will find that there's over 200 councils. Those 200 councils, every time they convened, they omitted more and more texts. They just kept omitting more and more and more and more ancient writings and texts until they had what they wanted in 325 AD. And in 325 AD at the Council of Nicaea, they basically legitimized the version of events that we know of as the New Testament. And these 13 letters of Paul were necessary because these are the ones that basically give all the authority to Rome. Rome is the ultimate authority in the Christian hierarchy, in the Christian church. And the Gnostics and their descendants were absolutely completely against this idea. And this is why the Roman Catholic Church had to go to war with the Gnosis. And it lasted a long time. It lasted all the way to the 12th and 13th century AD, when Rome finally got fed up with the fact that these people were steadily producing more and more historical texts showing the lies that they had created. These people were the Albigensians and the Waldenses and the Cathars. And this genocide went through Europe, but principally in France, when the Roman Catholic Church sent its mercenary armies to butcher every man, woman, and child. They couldn't have that exposure. So they went in and burned all their libraries, all their books, and exterminated all these people. It's a real dark stain on humanity. But the resurgence of ancient writings that show the lie of Christianity is a constant theme throughout the historical record, and it fueled the church into doing book burnings. It fueled to destroy and burn libraries. Most of the times, it was students of the Gnosis that were being accused of the witchcraft. Had nothing to do with actual satanic rituals or none of that. Had everything to do with people being caught with literature or old books and all that basically gave a Gnostic point of view on the scriptures, which is that the gospel is spiritual and there's nothing carnal about it. So